Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our Wednesday Wisdom Devotional. This is episode number 18, and I hope that you are having a good morning. I'm going to tell you a story this morning. It's about a man named Joe. He'd been married for 3 years, going on 4, and he was just unhappy. And he wanted to separate and divorce from his wife. He no longer found her interesting, no longer found her attractive, and was just continued to be in a cycle of misery. So he wanted to leave her. Thought that a change in spouse, a change in scenery would just do him a lot of good. But before he wanted to leave, before he drew up the papers in which he would serve his wife, he wanted to be mean. Wanted to be hateful, wanted to find the way in which he could leave her in the most hateful of ways. So he made an appointment with a psychologist. Went in and told the psychologist what he wanted to do, what he wanted to accomplish. At the end, the psychologist finally spoke and he said, "Joe, I've got a fantastic idea that I think will accomplish what you're hoping can be done. I want you to go home and I want you to commit for the next 2 months, every day, to treat your wife as if she is a goddess. I want you to wait on her hand and foot. And I want you to go out of your way to make the necessary sacrifices for her benefit and for her good. No sacrifice being too small and no sacrifice being too big. I want you to send her cards and flowers for no reason, to take her on the impromptu vacations. That when she wants to talk, that you will put your phone down and turn the television off and just listen to her like you've never listened to her before. Do that for 2 months, and at the end of those 2 months, I want you to pack your bags and just leave. Serve her the papers and go your way. That if your goal is to be as mean and as hateful as you can throughout this whole process, then that's what I want you to do." As Joe listened to the psychologist talk, thought to himself, this is fantastic. This is what I want to do. So he told the psychologist before he left, "I will do exactly what you have said. I will commit to the 2 months." And Joe did, starting that day. He went home and he did everything that he possibly could to help his wife. There weren't any dishes that he wouldn't wash, or wasn't a dinner that he wouldn't cook. He sent flowers, he sent cards, he took her on vacations. He did everything that the psychologist recommended. 2 months came and 2 months went. Psychologist got a little concerned because he never heard back from Joe, so he dug up his work number and gave him a call at work and called Joe, talked to Joe, and asked him the following questions. He said, "Joe, how are you doing? And I know that you were planning on filing divorce. Did you ever leave your wife at the end of the 2 months and file for divorce? And if so, how's everything going with you?" Joe listened and he finally cut off the psychologist and he said, "I'm happy. Wonderful. There's no thing in my mind, no thought in my mind in terms of divorce. I married a goddess. I'm the happiest I had ever been." You see, what Joe failed to realize is that it was not his wife that needed change. It wasn't a change in scenery or circumstances. It wasn't even just him. It was his attitude. It was his perspective. It needed a fresh understanding of what his role was in regards to his wife. So many today are in marriages with this misconception of what roles are. Husbands thinking that their wives should wait on them hand and foot. Wives thinking the same. And of course there's other misconceptions that time does not allow us to be able to go into. But if I could speak just to the men, to the husbands, what if I could tell you that if you find yourself in a marriage like Joe thought he was in, what if I could tell you this morning that you don't need a psychologist? What if I told you that what you needed was Christ? Ephesians 5:25, we are given these words, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." What if instead of viewing your wife as a goddess and expressing that love in so many of these other ways, which we should, by the way, we should send flowers and cards and impromptu vacations and the like. helping our wives around at home and with their work and with the children and everything else that we possibly can. But what if we went home and instead of viewing our wife as a goddess, we viewed our wife the way that Christ views the church? I wonder if we did that it would be easy to love sacrificially. Because you see, that's the call of the husband. The call going out to every Christian husband is to love their wife, to love their children, to love their family. But not to love them in the way that the world teaches us to love, which is with our emotion, which is with our feeling. And one of the reasons why the feelings and emotions are not a very good guide is because they change on a whim. They change with circumstances and situations. But if you love with the love of Christ, it won't change. It'll be a sacrificial love. And you'll find yourself loving your wife and loving your children, loving your family, the way that Christ loves us as we are part of the church. And we will find that a sacrifice probably ends up not being a sacrifice at all. And I wonder if we would end up being like Joe at the end of a day, as much less at the end of 2 months, instead of looking at things from a miserable point of view, seeing our marriages, seeing our wives, our families, as Christ sees us, with love, with acceptance, with mercy, with grace. And as He welcomes us, we would welcome our wives. We would welcome our families. There's a blessing that is told, and I'll leave you with this, at old weddings, Scottish weddings, that simply goes like this. The ever-living Christ is near you, and He's here to bless you. The nearer you keep Him, the nearer you will be to each other. Husbands, the way that you keep Christ near to you and to your family is to love your wife and to love your children with the love of Christ, which is a sacrificial love. I hope that you have found this devotional to be beneficial to you. And if you have, please share it with your friends and your family. If you haven't done so already, like our Facebook page. We're so thankful that you joined us this morning. If you live in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, we would love to have you come by and pay us a visit. We're the Raleigh Church of Christ. We're located at 911 Behringer Drive. We have Bible study tonight at 7, classes for all ages. If you're unable to join us and you have an opportunity, we would love to see you Sunday, 9:30 for Sunday school, 10:30 for our morning worship. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye-bye.